of them.
I don't mind if I record there. I want to show these guys video.
Okay, so we got a 7, an 8, and a 4. Got a 5 and a 2. And this is a quick set key, and I'm using the Schlage key notch. I don't ever use the quick set, I only use the Schlage.
Okay.
Because if I do this with the quick set, and I write the numbers down for both, and if I look at these, what pin I'm going to put in there,
it's different.
It's going to be pretty much the same pin.
It is going to be, okay. I got
The only pin that's different is the 5B. The 5B is not used in Schlage.
Okay.
It's only used in quick set.
Okay.
But if you were to look at the length of them, there's not enough difference in them to make. So I always use the Schlage, regardless of key.
All right.
So now we got our pin size. And I write them down because I can't remember them.
All right. So you're saying, so you could tell it was a pin issue because when it's upside down.
This way it's turning.
Turning. When you go upside down, it won't turn. Or basically right side up.
Yeah,
it should be.
That's why you can.
Right.
So we either got you got a pin in there that's not the right size. So now we got to see what he's got in here.
Okay.
There should be a spring in every hole. So far we got that. Yep. Okay, there's a spring in every hole. Now let me pull the springs out. Oops. Now what I'm going to do. Alright, you may have too short of top pins. I don't ever use these original top pins. Those are original top pins. That one's original top pin. Yeah.
How can you tell what is a?
Because of its shape.
Okay.
See how that's got a notch in it?
Okay.
See how these are square on both ends?
All right.
Our pins have one end that's pointed.
Okay.
I don't ever use those, and the reason I don't is I find they don't work well with our pins.
Okay.
Why that is, I can't exactly tell you. But I go and fix locks that are hanging up, and when I dump them out, I've got those in them. If I replace them with our top pins, then everything seems to work.
Okay.
So now...
So do they come with these normally, and you just dump them out?
Every lock comes with the keys.
Comes
with 3 keys, and it's already keyed to a key.
Right.
We throw the key away, we throw the pins away.
And then do the rekey.
And yes, that's why I asked him if he left him with a lock. So a 7. A 7 is a red and a red. We put anything over, what is it? 6 needs 2 pins. So it gets a little sliver.
What do you mean anything over? So it gets a 7 and a little pin? Is that what you're saying?
See, once we get over 5, see, it's got a 4B and a 6T and 8B and a...
Okay.
Because these pins only go to
a certain 0.24.
Yeah. So then you have to put in 2. Now, when you rekey these locks, you always have to push it in tight. Push the key in tight against the lock.
Okay.
That's how you want to check to see if it's working.
Okay.
Because this has a slide in it that the end of the key is pushing to make the lock operate.
Right.
Now, this one called for an 8B and a 5T, a red and a red, but it was too tall, so I dropped down and put a 4T in it. Because when I stuck it in, pushed it in tight, it was binding up. So I dropped to a 4T. And then on these locks, we always put in a 9B, the longest of the pins.
Put that where?
That's the top pin.
Okay.
Because you got 2 pins in there. First pin is going to take and make this straight so that it can turn the cylinder. That's how second pin goes in case somebody sticks a key in with a deeper notch.
Okay.
Top pin will drop in and lock it up.
Gotcha.
If it's got a shorter notch, it's going to push the bottom pin up and lock it up.
Okay.
So then we're checking to see that it turns. An 8 is a gold and a red. Now these I know because I've done this long enough. Okay, that's turning just fine when I push it in tight. Alright, then we're going to go forward. Now depending on the cut of the key, you may have to adjust the pin lengths. There are keys that I drop down 2 pin sizes from what I measured. And it has to do where the notch is located in the, compared to where the holes are in the lock.
Okay.
So far everything's working. We need a 5. So if they drop a pin in and they can't turn it, it's binding up when you push it tight against the lock, take it out, drop pin size.
Just the last pin you put in, right? Every time you do it, you're talking about the last pin that you're going in order?
No, every time I put a pin in.
Right, you check it, and then if it's wrong, you got to dump that pin out and then redo
right,
it.
so I'm putting in a 2 now.
Okay.
Now I'm going to push it in and see that it turns. Since it's turning okay, now I'll put the top pin in. And on these locks, I always put in the longest gold pin.
Right.
Okay, everything is working fine. Now I'll put the springs back. There's part of the problem.
You had a broke spring?
No. So one of these, 1, 2, 3, 4. So what had happened, 10 to 1, he forgot a top pin. If you don't put the top pin in, and you put the spring in, the cylinder will draw that spring into the, it'll draw it into the cylinder and it'll lock that thing up. That's what's happened there, more than likely. They forgot a pin. So, if you have your pin lengths right, these springs, once we put the set screws in, should always hold pressure on the pins. So my guess is he had, if he forgot a top pin, then that allows that one pin to move around because it's not being held in place.
Right.
And if the top pins are too short, then the spring never puts tension on the pin.
Right.
The pins will move around when you flip the lock upside down. It'll allow them to fall. Because you can see how these springs are close to the top of the cylinder, top of it. That should be what you should have. They can be in just a little bit, but if they're a long ways down, then you're missing something.
Okay.
Something's not right. Because when I tighten these screws up now, they should put pressure on the springs, and the springs should always push the pins down. And you always tighten these as tight as they'll go. When you get the lock, screws may be level with the outside of the body. Always tighten them as tight as they'll go. What happens is when the door closes, if it slams hard, these will start to loosen. These screws will fall out.
Right.
Okay. Now when we turn it this way, it should work. He's got a new key.
He's got a new key?
Because he has a new key with very, very sharp tips on them, and we have very deep notches, you can feel this key getting hung up as it jumps over all the pins.
Okay.
Now, as he uses it, it'll get easier because it'll wear these sharp tips off.
Okay.
But this is the direction we're going to put it in the door.
Now it looks like it's working. It's twisting now.
See, when he had it this way, all the pins were falling down into the cylinder, so everything was working.
Right.
But when you flipped it over, one of those pins was falling back down and locking it up. So now if we go put this one back in, Now it should all work. And these pins I never use. I never use the pins that come in them because they're square.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the diameter of them is slightly different than ours.
Mm-hmm.
So they hang up in the lock when the cylinder turns.
So these ones, I'm going to point out.
Yep.
I'm going to, that one right there.
Yep. Okay. So the longest pin,
mm-hmm.
the 5B, is the one that goes in the slimline locks.
Mm-hmm.
On the 2-piece locks, I use the 4B as the shortest, as the top pin.
As the which ones?
As a top pin.
No, but I mean, is for which locks?
On 2-piece locks. The round locks.
Okay.
The regular door locks.
Right.
And if you look at the pins that are in them, you're going to find that they're really short because this height is much shorter on one of them locks.
Right. Okay.
So this should work now.
Okay.
You just had I think he forgot a top pin.
Okay.
So when you flip that lock over,